Hello, I'm Parvati Sunaina, an Associate Fellow with the Center for Socioeconomic and Environmental Studies, Kochi. I'm also the coordinator of the Urban Research Center functioning in CSCS. Today, through this lecture, the research question that I would like to raise is whether the urban transport planners are responsive to the needs of women who are the users of public transport. Now, as all of you know, this lecture has been planned in accordance with the massive online course with respect to addressing the SDG 11, which aims to ensure safe cities for everyone, safe and inclusive cities for everyone. And the target that I'm addressing today is with respect to target 11.2, which addresses the transport needs of everyone to make it safe and inclusive for everyone, especially vulnerable communities of whom women are a major representation. Now, as all of you know, with respect to women and public transport, there are very specific patterns that are demonstrated by men and women. It is known that women depend on public transport more, they walk more, they do not have access to their own transport because of limited economic resources compared to men. They also are more likely to have children traveling with them, taking elderly to the hospitals, etc., because of the caregiving responsibilities. They are also the chances of them carrying loads with respect to shopping for home, groceries, etc., is more. So women are also likely to be carrying loads more when compared to men. So all these are aspects that need to be looked into when the public transport is being planned. Now, another thing that needs to be emphasized is that access to safe transport is something that liberates women and also makes them access work, education, etc., which are necessary to ensure that there is equality in the society. But what is of concern is that there are significant security and safety reasons which make women scared of traveling out alone at night. Even with respect to public transport and public spaces, they have not been able to feel safe because of the lack of security that is to be provided by the authorities. Now, today I'll be specifically talking about Kochi, which is the most urbanized region in Kerala. Kerala, like most of you know, has made excellent strides with respect to ensuring equality of girls and women across all conventional indicators, let it be education, health, employment, etc. But with respect to safety, when it comes to safety of women in public spaces, a study by Sakhi, which was conducted in the two other major cities in Kerala, that is Trivandrum and Kozhikode, it was seen that majority of the women have experienced some kind of sexual abuse or catcalling, etc., in public spaces, transport hubs, even within public transport, such as buses and trains, etc. So, despite being empowered with respect to all conventional indicators, women in Kerala do have security issues in public spaces. Now, moving on to the specific case of Kochi. When we think of Kochi, or when we look at the at what I intend to speak today is that what is the overview of public transport scenario in Kochi? What have been the recent changes in the transport scenario? Like Kochi has been one place where there has been massive changes with respect to transport scenario with the introduction of the Kochi Metro. So what have been the changes with respect to that? And definitely something that has impacted all of us is that of COVID. Now, COVID is something that has affected the transport sector significantly. So, what has been the impact of that on Kochi? And also, with respect to how these particular changes, let it be the Kochi Metro and also the COVID scenario, how it impacts women is something that we need to discuss separately. And finally, I would like to wrap it up with some suggestions towards the planners when talking about making cities and public transport women inclusive. Now, with respect to Kochi, Kochi is the commercial and industrial and financial hub of Kerala. Kochi is situated somewhere in the center of Kerala, and it is the most densely populated region in Kerala, wherein there are around 7,000 people packed into a square kilometer. Kochi is a very small place with around 98 square kilometers. And it is also spread. When you look at the map of Kochi, you can see that the space is divided into the mainland and the western side of Kochi, which are spread across backwaters. Now, Cochin urban agglomeration, when you look at the intercensal population growth, what we see is that the population growth in Kochi has kind of stagnated because there is no more scope for further residential development within the Kochi city limits. But when you look at the urban agglomeration, which is a set of other municipalities and panchayats bordering Kochi, it is seen that there is massive growth in these areas because these suburbs are growing and people from these places are coming into Kochi for their education, health, work and other requirements. So while Kochi has been stagnant with respect to growth, the surrounding areas have been growing significantly. So when we think of transport, we also need to think of who are the people coming into Kochi, from where all they are coming, and what are the kind of transport facilities that they currently access. So now when we talk of transport in Kochi, with respect to the transport scenario in Kochi, as I said, Kochi Metro is something that has come in very recently, that is in 2017. But before that, in fact, even now, private buses are a major public transport for the population in Kochi as well as those who come into Kochi, because there is an extensive network of private buses, more than 600 if I am not wrong, that are plying within the city limits from different locations around Kochi. Now, there are also public transport which is operated by the Kerala Urban Road Transport Corporation. Now, with respect to the facilities inside the public buses, what is seen is that there have been a new type of technology that has been introduced under the JNNURM, which has now been taken over by the KURTC, wherein air conditioned, non-air conditioned and low flow buses are plying. These are technological changes that are very welcome because, as I said before, women are likely to travel more with elderly children, etc. So such kind of ease of getting into the buses and getting down from the buses are likely to help them more as compared to men. So these are definitely welcome changes. And another thing, as I mentioned, is with respect to the geography of Kochi. As I mentioned, there are lots of people who are residing in islands and also the western side of Kochi, which is surrounded by backwaters. Boat is a very important public transport for those who are coming from these sides of area into the mainland. So in Kochi, we have currently different types of transport solutions, and there is an attempt to make it integrated, but it is yet to see success with respect to integration of all these modes of transport. And also, auto rickshaws are a major form of transport which is depended upon by a public, especially for ensuring the last and first mile connectivity. So they operate as feeder transport from the bus stations and boat stations to the places where the people are, the destinations of the persons who are traveling. Now, when we move on to the gender dimensions of people who are usually using public transport, I would like to draw attention to a study which was done by my institute, that is CSCS, in some years back, that is in 2014, wherein we had analyzed the patterns of persons who are commuting for work into Cochin. So we had looked at both men and women. Since I am talking about women, I would like to point out some observations that we had made with respect to women who are transporting to Kochi, who are commuting to work in Kochi. What is seen that the profile of the women who who commute to work in Kochi has to be discussed. There are domestic workers, there are retail sector workers, and there are also office goers. And we also looked at a major section of growing community in Kochi, that is IT professionals. What is seen is that the domestic workers depend solely on public transport. The retail sector workers are also dependent. The office workers are also dependent, and IT professionals have their own transport or have office transport. So what is seen is that the domestic workers and retail workers who are coming from the, as I mentioned before, the islands and the suburbs and the west side of Kochi, which also has both as a major transport option, are the major users of public transport with respect to women. I would also like to add that school going and college going girls are also a major section of the society who uses public transport. Since I'm talking only about women who are commuting to work, I'll not be mentioning them here now. So what is seen is that the one-way commute for these women is more than at least an average of an hour one way, and they do it early mornings. Like these domestic workers start from their houses at around 6 a.m. so that they reach into the city by the time for their work. And with respect to the retail workers, it is seen that they return home quite late. When the shops and all close by 8 and around 8, they return home very late. And what they mentioned is that they have a shortage or the sufficiency of bus as well as boat services in these times is quite limited, which is quite difficult for them to commute. And also they have overcrowding because of the limited resources that are available at these 2 points of time. And also they pointed out the issues of safety, given that they are traveling alone and the early hours as well as the late night hours are quite unsafe. They pointed out the lack of street lights in such areas where they are coming from. It is not especially within the city limits. It is seen in the suburbs from where they are coming that there is a shortage of street lights, which adds to their concerns of safety. So these are aspects that are not yet addressed properly by the authorities. So these are points that need to be looked into. And also it is seen that, let's see about public sanitation facilities. It is also seen to be inadequate within Kochi, which also needs to be improved when we are talking about ensuring inclusiveness and access to public facilities for women within an urban scenario. Now, let me draw your attention to the recent changes that, as I mentioned, there has been Kochi Metro, which was launched in 2017. And also not only in Kochi, there has been an explosion, I would say, of call taxis and call autos that are app operated. So this has kind of changed the transport scenario, especially with respect to last mile and first mile connectivity. When you have cars and autos coming to your doorstep at the click of a button. But who are the women? I'll talk only about women here. Who are the women who are accessing Kochi Metro services and also such app-based services? As I don't need to emphasize, these are women who are from economically and socially more developed sections of the society, and these are not affordable to the domestic workers and the retail sector workers who have limited access to resources. So these developments have not helped them as they have helped the other more economically developed sections of the society. And it is also seen that when, with respect to the coverage of the Kochi Metro services, we can see that the west side of Kochi is completely ignored, from where this mass of women who are coming into work for Kochi city has been ignored with respect to the planning, with respect to the Kochi Metro layout. Definitely the access to land is a major issue because the west side of Kochi is much more densely populated as compared to the mainland of Kochi. So in urban transport planning, such women have been ignored, which needs to be addressed since they are still depending on the conventional modes of public transport. Now, this is where I would like to point out the impact of COVID. Now, as all of us know, we have all been affected by COVID in some way or the other. But there are certain sections of the society, certain sectors of the economy that have been affected quite more significantly than the others. And transport is definitely one. When people got locked down in their houses, they were afraid of going out. They always preferred going out in their own transport facilities. So public transport has reduced quite significantly, and this has affected the women who are using public transport. Even with respect to the past 1.5 years, we can see that the kind of transport that has come out on the roads newly or freshly, let it be cars, let it be bikes, there has been more male presence. There was a male dominance with respect to usage of private transport, which has now increased with the fear of COVID and all that. So again, women are now facing a double whammy. wherein they are at the risk of losing jobs, because retail sector has been one sector that has been affected significantly, and women who are not considered as primary breadwinners, like we recently have a study on gender issues among journalists. What women journalists pointed out is that there is a lack of public transport during the night times, which makes it difficult for them to travel for work. And especially with respect to COVID, it was also pointed out when there are layoffs, women are more susceptible to be laid off because they are not looked at as the primary breadwinner of the family. So when there is a man who is the primary breadwinner, the chance of him being shown the door is lesser as compared to women. So the women are at the risk of losing job because they are not able to go to work because of lack of transport facilities. A recent study, that a quick assessment of the COVID situation in Kerala that CACS had done through an online survey showed very clear differences with respect to availability to own transport, work from home, and also fear of infection, etc., which was clearly showing that while women are working more from home because of lack of transport and also the additional responsibilities at home, men who have access to private transport are venturing out more. Definitely, the scenario is changing now with respect to COVID and lockdown restrictions, but it is seen that women have been affected more, and the lack of transport is one of the major reasons why women have had to take a back step. Now, as I mentioned, the research question at the beginning of the lecture, the research question that I wanted to raise is that whether the urban transport planners are addressing the needs of those sections of women who are accessing public transport. I am not talking about women as a homogeneous group. I am talking about women who are currently using public transport despite there being significant advances in the transport scenario in Kochi. Let it be Kochi Metro, app-based services and everything, which has significantly improved the quality of life for a section of society. Like a usership survey among Kochi Metro users had shown that the average income of a metro rider is around 20 to 40,000, which is unimaginable for the section of the society that I am talking about. The non-users' average income is around 6,000 to 2,000, which is where the domestic workers and the retail sector workers are coming in. So these are issues that need to be addressed by the authorities. Let it be the local governments. As I mentioned, Kochi is an urban agglomeration, and it is not only Kochi Municipal Corporation that needs to take steps. All the municipal areas, panchayats, and all other bodies which are a part of the urban agglomeration must take integrated and coordinated steps towards ensuring access to safe and inclusive and secure public transport for women, for which there needs to be an interaction among different segments of the population. Let it be students, let it be domestic workers, let it be retail workers, let it be office staff. The authorities need to engage with these different segments of the society to understand their issues and bring up sustainable solutions for these issues that they are pointing out. While I completely acknowledge the stride that has made with the coming of Kochi Metro, we have a reduction in traffic, we have reduction in pollution and all that, but this should not only be the base for urban transport planning. We need to ensure that the vulnerable segments of the society who are already marginalized are not having a double disadvantage. With respect to women, the double disadvantage is now multiplying, I would say. There is a disadvantage of being a woman who has limited access to transport. Now, with the COVID and all that, the issues have doubled. And with no access to the advancements made in the transport planning in the society, these women from the vulnerable sections are being made more vulnerable or sidelined. This should not happen. And also with respect to, as I mentioned, the safety and security issues, we need to have street lights, and for which safety audits need to be done by the authorities. Vulnerable areas wherein there are repeated reports of abuse, there are no street lights, there are issues of social misconduct, etc. such areas need to be marked and punishments doled out, and also street lights ensured, and all kind of safety precautions taken for women. Two initiatives that I would like to point out, which I found impressive, was the She Taxi initiative by the government of Kerala, wherein women cab drivers were encouraged. It had taken a back step before COVID, but it is also observed that with COVID, women and elderly have come up and are accessing the services of She Taxi more, because it was given free of cost during the lockdown and all that. So such initiatives wherein there are women drivers who might be able to make the women feel more secure. So such initiatives must be encouraged. And another public initiative that was taken by the Department of Women and Child Development was the Podu Idam Endedum, which was done on the Nirbhaya Day on December 29th, where women were welcomed or encouraged to come out and step out in the night and embrace the city and the public spaces as their own. Though these are, I would say, one-off incidents, but such incidents need to take place so that women have the confidence of embracing the public space and also adopting public transport as a safe means of transportation. So, with this, I would like to wrap up my lecture. I hope whoever is attending this course has got an idea of how the transport scenario in Kochi has been and has evolved, and how the women's issues need to be addressed more sincerely. Thank you.
எங்கள் வீட்டுக்காரர் இல்லை, அவர் வீட்டுக்கு போயிட்டாரு. நான் வேலைக்கு போனால் தான் அந்த பசங்களுக்கு எல்லாமே எங்கே போத்தாந்தாலும் நான் போனால் தான். நான் அதுதான் பசங்க வச்சுன்னு ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்படுறேன் நான். அதனால் வேலையே இல்லை, இவ்வளோ நாள் வேலை இல்லாமல் வீட்டில் தான் இருந்தேன். இப்போ அவ்வளோ தூரத்தில் தான் வேலை கிடைச்சிது. எம்ஆர்சி நகரில் தான் வேலைக்கு போகிறோம். ஒரு வீட்டில் 3 ஹவருக்கு மேலே ஆகும். 6000 ரூபா சம்பளம் கொடுக்குறாங்க. இன்னொரு வீட்டில் வந்து 4000 ரூபா கொடுக்குறாங்க. அவங்க வீட்டில் 2 ஹவர் ஆகும். இன்னொருத்தவங்க வீட்டில் 3 ஹவர் ஆகும். அவங்க வீட்டில் வந்து சமையல் வேலை, 2 வீட்டில் சமையல் வேலை, ஒரு வீட்டில் வந்து மேல் வேலை. அந்த வேலை அவங்க வீட்டில் வந்து 4500 ரூபா கொடுக்குறாங்க. காலையில் சீக்கிரம் போயிடுவோம், 7 மணி 6 மணிக்கெலாம் அங்கே போயிடுவோம். நாங்கள் சாயந்தரம் வர்றது 4 மணி 3 மணி ஆகிடும் வீட்டுக்கு வர்றது. அதுக்கு முன்னெல்லாம் பஸ்ஸு காசு கொடுத்து தான் போவோம். அப்போல்லாம் பாஸ் எடுத்துக்குவோம், இல்லைன்னா ரொம்ப கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமாக இருக்கும். இப்போ தான் ஃப்ரீயாக விட்றாங்கள, அதுவும் ஒயிட் போர்டுக்காக வெயிட் பண்ணணும் போகிறதுக்கு. ஏன்னா ஜனம் இப்போ ஃப்ரீன்றதுனால எல்லாமே அதில் தான் போகிறோன்றாங்க. இப்போ ரெட் கலரில் அவ்வளோ காசு இருக்கிறவங்க ஏறுவாங்க, இல்லாதவங்க இந்த பஸ்ஸை வெயிட் பண்ணி தான் பார்த்துட்டு எப்படியும் வேலையை முடிச்சுட்டு வந்துட்டா கூட எப்படியும் 1 ஹவருக்கு மேலே வெயிட் பண்ணணும். பஸ்ஸு லேட்டாக தான் 6 ஹவர் ஆச்சும் உட்காந்துருக்கணும் பஸ்ஸுக்கு வெயிட் பண்ணணும், ஒயிட் போர்டு வர்றதுக்கு. அது வந்தாப்புல தான் அதை வெயிட் பண்ணி தான் அந்த பஸ்ஸில் தான் நாங்கள் வரோம்.
In Chennai, the urbanization process in the recent decades gradually happened with the peripheralization of the urban poor. For them, commuting from the suburbs to the city for work is a costly affair. Whenever the ticket prices go up, it is seen that a section of women stops going to work. The Tamil Nadu government's decision to offer free rides for women and transgenders on the buses was a welcome change. This is assumed to have an impact on the work participation of women, but that is yet to be seen.
Whiteboards is the buses which have the cheapest fare. That's the only one that is free for women. Sometimes the frequency of these buses are low. So there are multiple things we need to focus on. One is to ensure that, if this free buses was like the free pass is actually expanded to all bus services. So whichever bus she gets in, it would be free for her to use. Secondly, we would need to look at how our bus stops, etc., become a lot more safer for our women, to make sure that they are well lit, and even things like ensuring that she has information about when her next bus is expected to come. So if you know that your next bus is coming only 15 minutes from now, you can plan your trip in such a way that your wait time at the bus stop is minimal. Opportunity for women to hail a stop, which is that if you're heading back at, let's say, 9:30 in the evening and your location of getting home is between two bus stops, having an opportunity for her to say, can I get down here, so that, you know, I don't need to walk the extra mile, but I could just reach the earliest. And there are you know, Canadian cities, etc., who are actually following these, and these are not very, it's not a very heavy, you know, intensive in terms of a funding sort of a policy move that we need to make.
Maintaining and enhancing public transit service in Indian cities is important to meet rapidly growing mass mobility needs and curb personal motor vehicle activity. Overall, there were persistent losses in public services owing to increasing input cost and declining productivity. The construction of elaborate and extensive infrastructure, which brings about drastic changes in the mobility landscape, fosters private mobility to the disadvantage of the public system. An approach based on the needs and motivations of different groups, along with improved operating conditions and policies, is needed to address the challenges of providing financially viable and affordable public bus transit service. In a survey conducted by Kochi-based organization, namely Center for Public Policy Research, nearly 72% of the total women surveyed said that the availability of good connectivity was an important factor while using public transport.
We try to create streets for all. So it's not particularly that we're only focusing on a particular stakeholder, but when we do focus on creating streets which work for children, which work for women, it practically works for all. If I said that, you know, fantastic, you know, I've come up with 5 projects for women and I have 5 streets in the entire city that is safe for women, it really doesn't matter. Like, every mobility project needs to have a gender layer. Like, when your footpath becomes a hurdle race for a woman to walk up and walk down, it's a big hassle. So what we've been working with the city first was to make sure that there are safe footpaths on our streets, which will make sure that women can access their healthcare and their work, etc., safely. So here a few components that we focused on was that to make sure that our footpaths are wide and they do not have interruptions or encroachments in the middle of them, to make sure that they're at one level so that women do not have to walk up and down, making sure particularly that they are well lit, because lighting plays a very, very important role in how safe women feel in these spaces as well. The reason why we put in bollards is so that two-wheelers don't use that particular street, and you know, that footpath is used by pedestrians and not two-wheelers. Now, unfortunately, when you put in bollards, you need to make sure how the wheelchairs go in, and for that what we generally do is make sure that one of the two, like amongst the bollards, there would be one pair that is located clearly for the physically like persons with disabilities to use that particular space. However, like I said, it's a very tricky space. Like, that's the space that the two-wheelers use, and as a result, no one can use.
Availability of public toilets, well-lit streets, facilities for breastfeeding, small planning measures go a very long way in creating space for women. In 2011, Sakhi, an NGO in Kerala, conducted a study on the harassment faced by women commuters in Thiruvananthapuram and Kozhikode cities. The study exposed that almost 3/4 of the respondents faced harassment at bus stops and transport hubs, and while travelling in public transport as well. Kerala government had launched Ende Kooda scheme to provide free night shelter facilities to women and children without any cumbersome procedural formalities for admission or release. As the shelter homes ensure security at night without infringing upon freedom, the project was well received.
മുതൽ വരുന്ന കേട്ടോ ഇവർ 2015 ഇവിടെ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തത്. അപ്പം മുതൽ വരുന്നതാണെന്ന് രജിസ്റ്ററിലുണ്ട്. ഞാൻ നോക്കിയപ്പോൾ കണ്ടു ഇവരെ പേര്.
ഇവിടുത്തെ എത്ര ബെഡല്ലേ? 14 ബെഡല്ലേ മൊത്തം. 3 ദിവസം വരെ നമുക്ക് ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് താമസിക്കാം. 4ാമത്തെ ദിവസം വരുമ്പോൾ 150 പേയ്മെന്റ് ഉണ്ട്. 3 ദിവസം വരെ വൈകിട്ട് 6 മണി തൊട്ട് രാവിലെ 7 വരെയാണ്. പിന്നെയുള്ള ഫെസിലിറ്റീസ് എന്തൊക്കെയാ? ഫുഡുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പൊ കൊറോണ ആയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് പറ്റുന്നില്ല. പിന്നെ കഞ്ഞിയും പയറുമാണ് ഉള്ളത്. പിന്നെ രാവിലെ ഒരു ചായയും ബിസ്ക്കറ്റോ റസ്കോ അങ്ങനെ ലൈറ്റായിട്ട്.
98 അതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഓർമ്മയിൽ ഹയസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് വന്നത്, കൊറോണയ്ക്ക് മുന്നേ. പിന്നെ കോവിഡ് വന്നതിന് ശേഷം അടച്ചിടേണ്ടി വന്ന്. പക്ഷെ എന്നാലും ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഓഫീസ് കോള് വരുമായിരുന്നു, മൊബൈൽ നമ്പറിൽ വിളിക്കുമായിരുന്നു, ഇങ്ങനെ നിൽക്കാൻ സ്ഥലമില്ല എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട്. പിന്നെ പിന്നെ ഓപ്പൺ ആയ സമയത്ത് ഒരു 6 ആൾ വരെ വന്ന മാസമുണ്ട്. പിന്നീട് ഇപ്പോൾ ഇഷ്ടംപോലെ ആളായി. പിന്നെ ദൂരയാത്ര ചെയ്ത് വരുന്ന കുട്ടികൾ, പിന്നെ എന്തെങ്കിലും പ്രോഗ്രാമൊക്കെ അഡ്മിറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് അങ്ങനത്തെ കുട്ടികൾ, പിന്നെ ഹോം നേഴ്സ് അങ്ങനെയുള്ളവർ, പിന്നെ പോലീസ് സ്റ്റേഷനിൽ നിന്ന് കൊണ്ടുവരും. മിസ്സിങ് കേസുള്ള കുട്ടികൾ, പെൺകുട്ടികളൊക്കെ ആണ് അധികവും ഇവിടെ ഉണ്ടാവർ. പിന്നെ ഈ അമ്മമാരൊക്കെ ഉറക്കത്തുനിന്ന് ഓർമ്മക്കുറവായിട്ട് പോകുന്ന അങ്ങനെ ഉള്ളവർ ഒരുപാട് പല കേസുകളായിട്ടാണ് ഇവിടെ വരിക.
നിങ്ങളെ ഡ്യൂട്ടി ആഴ്ചയിൽ ഒരു അവധി അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെയാണോ?
അങ്ങനെയല്ല, ഒന്നരാടം വരും ഞങ്ങൾ. ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് എടുത്താൽ നാളെ അവിടെ അങ്ങനെ എടുക്കാനുള്ള കപ്പാസിറ്റി ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഉണ്ട്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ്. പക്ഷേ അങ്ങനെയല്ല പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നത്, രണ്ടുപേരും ഒരുമിച്ചായിരുന്നു എടുത്തത്. പക്ഷേ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു മക്കളോടൊത്തുള്ളൊരു ദിവസം ഇല്ലാതെ പോവല്ലേ രാത്രിയൊക്കെ ആകുമ്പോൾ. അതുകൊണ്ട് അങ്ങനെ എടുക്കാനുള്ള കപ്പാസിറ്റി ഞങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയെടുത്ത്.
ഇവിടെ ഇപ്പം 50 ബെഡുണ്ട്. 50 കൂടുതലും വരാറുണ്ട് ആൾക്കാർ കോവിഡിന് മുന്നേ. ഇപ്പം കൂടിപ്പോയി ഒരു 10-15 അത്രയേ ഉള്ളൂ. നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ തന്നിട്ടുള്ളതെന്ന് പറയുന്നത് എങ്ങനെയുള്ള ലേഡീസ് ആണെങ്കിലും കയറ്റണമെന്നാണ്. അങ്ങനെ നമ്മൾ രാത്രി വരുന്നവർക്ക്, മെയിനായിട്ടും രാത്രി വന്ന് അകപ്പെട്ട് പോകണമെന്നുള്ളവർക്കുള്ള ഒരു ഇതാണ്, സ്ഥാപനമാണ്. നമ്മൾ വരുമ്പോൾ ചോദിക്കും എന്ത് റീസൺ കൊണ്ടാണ് ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്ത് വന്നതെന്ന് ചോദിക്കാറുണ്ട്. അവരുടെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു അസ്വാഭാവിക തോന്നുവാണെങ്കിലും നമ്മൾ ആളുകളെ അറിയിക്കും, പോലീസിനെയോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതേ ഉള്ളൂ. ഉള്ളൂ.
നല്ല ഫെസിലിറ്റി ആണ്. ഇത്രയൊന്നും എക്സ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്തില്ലായിരുന്നു. ഇങ്ങനെ ഫ്രീ ആന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഇത്രയൊന്നും എക്സ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്തില്ല.
പക്ഷെ നമുക്ക് അത്ര ഫെമിലർ അല്ലേ, കാരണം ഇങ്ങനെ എത്രത്തോളം സേഫ് ആണെന്ന് അറിയില്ലല്ലോ. അപ്പം വീട്ടുകാരൊക്കെ ഇങ്ങനെ അത്ര ആരും ഷുവർ അല്ലായിരുന്നു. നമ്മൾ കുറേ സ്ഥലത്ത് എൻട്രൻസ് എക്സാം എഴുതാൻ പോകുമ്പം ഒറ്റയ്ക്ക് നിൽക്കുക, ലോഡ്ജിൽ നിൽക്കുക. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു സേഫ്റ്റി അവർക്ക് എന്നും പ്രശ്നമായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷേ ഇവിടെ വന്നപ്പോൾ ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു പദ്ധതി ഉള്ളപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ വിചാരിച്ചു ഫ്രീ ആണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഒരു മീഡിയോക്കർ ആയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു ഇതേ നമ്മൾ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളൂ, ഫെസിലിറ്റീസൊക്കെ. പക്ഷേ എക്സ്പെക്റ്റേഷൻസ് ഒക്കെ എക്സീഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അത് ഒന്നാമത് പറഞ്ഞാൽ സെക്യൂരിറ്റി ഉണ്ട്. പിന്നെ പാരൻസിനും അവർ ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റഡ് ആയിരുന്നു. നമ്മൾ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് തന്നെ ഇത് ഫ്രീ ആണെന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ. പിന്നെ സെൻട്രലിൽ തന്നെയല്ലേ, ഒരു ഉള്ളിലേക്കൊന്നും അല്ലല്ലോ.
Ensuring that the cab and auto rickshaw drivers have no criminal records and sensitizing them can help a lot in making the travel options comfortable for women. Online taxi services also play a great role in assuring safety, though rare instances of lapses were reported from different corners. When women are drivers, the safety concerns of the commuters are addressed to a great extent. Amrutavali, who has been driving She Taxi in Thiruvananthapuram for 8 years, found it hard to stick on to the job during the COVID pandemic. She earned more than 1 lakh rupees per month during the heydays, and her income dropped to almost nothing during the pandemic.
പത്രത്തിൽ പരസ്യം കണ്ടു. അപ്പോൾ ആദ്യം ഇതൊരു വണ്ടി ഇങ്ങനെ നമുക്ക് കുറേ സ്ഥലങ്ങളിലൊക്കെ പോകാം, കുറേ ആൾക്കാരെ പരിചയപ്പെടാം, അങ്ങനെ ആ ഒരു ഇതിലാണ് ഇതിലോട്ട് വന്നത്. വന്നപ്പോൾ നമുക്കൊരു നല്ലൊരു ഏണിംഗ് ആണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലായി. നമുക്ക് പിന്നെ ഇപ്പം ബാങ്ക് ലോണൊക്കെ ആയാലും മറ്റ് വിദ്യാഭ്യാസ കാര്യത്തിനായാലും അങ്ങനെ നമ്മുടെ സ്വന്തമായിട്ടുള്ള കുറേ കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം നല്ല രീതിയിൽ മുന്നോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ പറ്റി. നമ്മുടെ കസ്റ്റമറെല്ലാം ഡയറക്റ്റ് നമ്മളുമായിട്ട് കോണ്ടാക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ തുടങ്ങി. പരിചയമായി കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോഴേ അവർ നമ്മളെ ഡയറക്റ്റ് കോണ്ടാക്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അവർ കോണ്ടാക്ട് ചെയ്താൽ പോലും നമ്മൾ ഓഫീസ് ബുക്ക് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഓഫീസ് വഴി നമ്മൾ ട്രിപ്പ് എടുക്കുകയുള്ളൂ. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ സേഫ്റ്റി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഓഫീസുമായിട്ട് ബുക്ക് ചെയ്ത് പോകുന്നതാണ് ഞങ്ങൾക്കൊരു 100% ഞങ്ങളുടെ സേഫ്റ്റി ആയിട്ട് തോന്നിയിട്ടുള്ളത്. WDCയുടെ കീഴിലായിരുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു സപ്പോർട്ട് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കിട്ടിയിട്ടില്ല. WDCയുടെ കീഴിൽ നിന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു തരത്തിലുള്ള സപ്പോർട്ട് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കിട്ടിയില്ല. അങ്ങനെ ഞങ്ങൾ പിന്നെ വീണ്ടും കുറേ ഇതിൽ തന്നെ നിന്ന് കുറച്ച് ഡ്രൈവർമാരെ കൂടെ വീണ്ടും ഞങ്ങളൊരു ഫെഡറേഷനൊക്കെ രൂപീകരിച്ചു. ആ ഫെഡറേഷനൊക്കെ രൂപീകരിച്ച് ഞങ്ങൾ വീണ്ടും ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഷീ ടാക്സി നല്ല രീതിയിൽ കൊണ്ടുവരണം എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ ഫൈറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ തുടങ്ങി. അങ്ങനെ ഫൈറ്റ് ചെയ്താണ് ഞങ്ങൾക്കിപ്പം വീണ്ടും പഴയ രീതിയിൽ ഇപ്പോൾ പുതിയ ഒരു കോൾ സെൻ്ററാണ് ഇപ്പം വീണ്ടും ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കിട്ടിയിട്ടുള്ളത്. വേണ്ടത് സംസാരിക്കാനൊരു കൂട്ടായ്മയായിട്ട് നിൽക്കാൻ പറ്റണമെങ്കിൽ പോലും, പക്ഷേ അത് ഫെഡറേഷൻ രൂപീകരിച്ചതിന് ശേഷം ഞങ്ങൾക്കതിനെ നല്ല രീതിയിൽ കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ വേണ്ടി പറ്റിയില്ല. കാരണം ഈ ലോക്ക്ഡൗണിൻ്റെ പ്രശ്നമൊക്കെ വന്നപ്പോൾ, പക്ഷേ ഈ ലോക്ക്ഡൗണിൻ്റെ പ്രശ്നം വന്ന സമയത്ത് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഈ ഫെഡറേഷൻ്റെ ഇതുകൊണ്ടിരുന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഫസ്റ്റ് ലോക്ക്ഡൗൺ സമയത്ത് കുറച്ച് ഓട്ടങ്ങളൊക്കെ എടുക്കാൻ പറ്റിയിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഒരു സൈഡ് ബിസിനസ് പോലുള്ള ഒരു രീതിയിൽ നമുക്ക് പറ്റില്ല. കാരണം നല്ല രീതിയിൽ ഫുൾ ടൈം ഇതിന് വേണ്ടി അങ്ങ് മാറ്റി വെച്ചൊക്കെ നിന്നാൽ നിൽക്കുകയുള്ളൂ. കാരണം നേരത്തേക്ക് തന്നെ കുറച്ച് പേര് ഓട്ടം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ മാത്രമേ വരുള്ളൂ, ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവർ വീട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് ഇറങ്ങൂല, ആ ഒരു രീതിയിലൊക്കെ ആയിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെയുള്ളവർക്ക് ഓട്ടം വളരെ കുറവായിരിക്കും. ഈ ഓട്ടം കുറഞ്ഞു വരുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് വരുമാന മാർഗം കുറഞ്ഞു എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ നല്ല രീതിയിൽ ഓട്ടം ഇല്ല എന്നുള്ളതും കൂടെ വെച്ചിട്ട് ആരും പിന്നെ കുറച്ച് പേരെല്ലാം ഇതിൽ നിന്ന് അങ്ങ് മാറി. നമ്മൾ എത്രത്തോളം സമയം ഇതിൽ ആക്റ്റീവായിട്ട് നിൽക്കുമോ അതിനനുസരിച്ച് നമുക്ക് നല്ല രീതിയിലുള്ള വരുമാനം ഉണ്ടാവുമായിരുന്നു. ഇത്രയും ഒരു 12-12:30 നമ്മൾ ഇറങ്ങിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ രാവിലെ തന്നെ ഒരു ചിലപ്പോൾ 5 മണി 6 മണിക്കൊക്കെ ആയിരിക്കും തിരിച്ച് വീട്ടിൽ കയറുന്നത്. നമുക്കിപ്പം എന്തൊരു ആവശ്യം നമ്മളിപ്പം പുറത്തൊക്കെ നിന്നാൽ പോലും അവർക്കറിയാം നമ്മുടെ ഷീ ടാക്സി ആണ്, രാത്രി ഓടുന്നവരാണോ എന്നുള്ളതുകൊണ്ട് പിന്നെ അവർ ചിലപ്പോൾ ചോദിക്കും എന്തെങ്കിലും ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുണ്ടോ എന്താണെന്ന് ചോദിക്കും. അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ നല്ല സപ്പോർട്ട് ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ട്. മോശം അനുഭവം എന്തെങ്കിലും സഹിച്ച് ഇതുവരെ ഉണ്ടായിട്ടില്ല. ആരും ഇതുവരെ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു മോശമായിട്ട് ഇതുവരെ ആരും അങ്ങനെ സംസാരിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. അവർക്ക് നമ്മളിലുള്ളൊരു വിശ്വാസം എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഭയങ്കര സന്തോഷമല്ലേ. അതുപോലെ ചിലപ്പം ഈ പെൺമക്കളെ മാത്രം ചിലർ എക്സാമിനൊക്കെ കൊണ്ടുപോകാനായാലും ഇവിടെ നിന്ന് ചിലപ്പോൾ ലോങ് ട്രിപ്പൊക്കെ തന്നെ പോകാനായാലും ശരി തന്നെ അവർ നമ്മൾ കാണിക്കുന്ന ഒരു വിശ്വാസം കാണുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഭയങ്കര ഇന്നത്തെ കാലത്ത് ആരും ഇങ്ങനെ ഒറ്റയ്ക്കൊന്നും പിള്ളേരെ അങ്ങ് വിടൂലല്ലോ. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു കാലത്ത് നമ്മളെ ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് വിശ്വസിച്ച് നമ്മൾ ഏൽപ്പിച്ച് വിടുമ്പോൾ അത് ഭയങ്കര സന്തോഷം ഉള്ളൊരു കാര്യം തന്നെയാണ്. ഇപ്പോഴും നമുക്ക് വരുമാനമെന്ന് പറയാൻ ഒന്നുമില്ല. ഇപ്പോൾ ഓട്ടമൊന്നും ഇല്ലാത്ത ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ ഒരു 2 വർഷം കൊണ്ടുള്ളത് ഭയങ്കര മോശം സിറ്റുവേഷനാണ്.
இப்போ ஓலா ஊபர்லாம் வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறமும் அதுக்கு முன்னாடி நீங்க ஓட்டிட்டு இருந்தப்போ என்ன வித்தியாசம்?
சவாரி ஓலா ஊபர்னா கம்மி. இப்ப நடுவுல பெட்ரோல்லாம் விலை இருந்ததுன்னா நான் எடுக்கிறதுல ஓலா ஊபர். ஏன்னா இப்ப நான் 10 சவாரி போட்டா 200 ரூபாய் அவங்களுக்கு நான் ரீசார்ஜ் பண்ணணும். உட்காருமா வெயில் அடிக்குது, ரீசார்ஜ் பண்ணணும். இப்போ எனக்கு இப்போ வண்டி ஓட்டுற கஷ்டமா இருக்குது, அதை அளவுக்கு கட்ட முடியல. அதனால ஓலா ஊபர் எடுக்கிறது இல்லை. நாங்க நார்மலான ரேட் பேசிட்டு
வருமானம்லாம் அதுக்கு முன்னாடி இருந்ததுக்கு இப்போ கொரோனாக்கு அப்புறம் எப்படி?
கொஞ்சம் இப்ப பரவாயில்லமா, இப்ப பரவாயில்ல. ரொம்ப டல்லு லோன் எல்லாம் கூட நின்று போச்சு. கஷ்டமா தான் இருந்தது. பரவாயில்ல, கடவுள் பண்ணிட்டுல.
Amma Two-Wheeler Scheme was a flagship program of the AIADMK government, led by the then Chief Minister Jayalalitha in 2018, aimed at enabling working women to purchase two-wheelers in Tamil Nadu. As it is a usual practice in Tamil Nadu for the new governments to discard the schemes of the previous ones, the DMK government, which came to power in May 2021, scrapped the scheme without quoting any reason. In their study, the Institution of Transportation and Development Policy found that 4 out of 10 women who travel didn't know cycling in Chennai. Even when a majority of men and children own cycles, it is only 1 in 10 women who owns a cycle.
Chennai, for example, has the Chennai Smart Bike System, which is a cycle sharing system where there are more than 500 cycles in the city. The people who own cycles are largely men, or they are, school-going children, etc. So these initiatives would also help a woman cycle if she did not own a cycle as well. And one of the initiatives that they've started is the cycling at night cycle rallies. So they've called them night cycle rallies, which are particularly focused on women. And it's hosted in the night so that it also empowers women to feel safe in the night.
Similar smart bike systems are introduced in Thiruvananthapuram and Ernakulam by the Smart City Missions, which are in their initial stages. The Kochi Metro project is claimed to be the first metro in the country to connect rail, road and water transport facilities. This has been a definite advantage for women commuters from the relatively affluent class rather than the lower income groups. Also, nearly 80% of the Kochi Metro team is made up of women and transgender persons working in a wide range of positions like loco pilots, station managers, cleaning staff, ticket machine operators, and more. The urban transport systems in Kerala and Tamil Nadu have major roles in helping the public access the growing urban prospects. An important requirement is therefore to use the analysis of disaggregated data to identify the various needs of different categories of people, especially women, to minimize transport-related social exclusion.